morning, my dear students. Resuming our recorded classes for class 11, and we are now starting with the second unit, kinematics. Okay, and today we will be dealing with the first part, including vector quantities. Okay, now when you are doing the basics in class, you come across the two types of physical quantities. The two types of physical quantities are scalar and vector quantities. And the definition of scalar quantities is that the quantities which have got only magnitude and which do not direction, those physical quantities are called scalar quantities, isn't it? So you must be also familiar with the examples of scalar quantities like mass, speed, isn't it? Suppose you express the mass of an object, you need not talk about the direction, you just say this object is 2 kg, isn't it? So scalar quantities are the quantities which are described by magnitude completely. Now the second type of physical quantities that we will be dealing with is vector quantities. Vector quantities are the physical quantities which have both magnitude and direction. So in order to express a vector quantity completely, you have to mention the magnitude, that means the numerical value, as well as the direction of the physical quantity. And on top of that, vector quantities are the quantities which obey the triangle law of vector addition. Okay, we'll come to this later on. So whatever you have learned in your basics in today's class is that vector quantities need magnitude and direction, and they also should be obeying triangle law of vector addition. Three criteria are satisfied, then that physical quantity will be called a vector quantity. Now coming to examples of vector quantity, we have displacement. Suppose you move from one point to the other, covered by you maybe 2 km, okay, and you are coming in this direction, that means northeast, isn't it? So to express this physical quantity, that is a displacement covered by you completely, you have to say I cover 2 km towards northeast. Now this happens to be your direction, alright? So vector quantities need a magnitude and a direction to describe completely. Now these are the examples: displacement, then you have velocity, force is also impulse. All these are vector quantities. Okay. Now, how do we denote a vector quantity on paper? That means, what is the notation of a vector? Suppose you have a physical quantity, say A. Now it may be speed, it may be velocity, it may be displacement. Okay, if I just, it means this is a scalar quantity, but in order to express it as a vector quantity, you just have to put an arrow on top of it. Alright, so either the vector quantity on top of which will be an arrow, or if you notice in your books, they just bold, okay, they just write the letter in bold, the quantity in bold. This also means that it is a vector quantity. Okay, so in your book, if you come across a vector quantity which does not contain any arrow, you will notice that the letter has to be written in bold. That is how you denote a vector quantity. Now coming to the next topic of discussion, you should know what is, and you should also displacement vector. So we will now be learning about position and displacement vector. This is very helpful to learn physics when you proceed further in learning physics. Now we choose a frame of reference with an origin O. We are just choosing the xy coordinate, Cartesian coordinate. Okay, this is x, this is y. Okay, now this happens to be our origin. So with respect to this, suppose you have a point, say at time t1 and any object is at a position P. Okay. Now if you draw a line from the origin which becomes a reference till this point P, now this shows the position of P with respect to the origin. This is called position vector of P, denoted by R1 with an arrow. Okay. Now suppose the particle moves and at time t2, now with respect to the origin, this happens to be the position of Q, denoted by the letter R2, of course with an arrow because it is a position vector. Now there is a displacement, right? P, the particle was initially at P at the time t1, at some other time t2, after some time it has reached. So there is a displacement and the arrow drawn from PQ, it shows the displacement vector of the particle. Okay, so our displacement vector is PQ. And displacement vector, we just subtract initial position. This is how you denote the displacement vector. Okay. Now that is all about position and displacement. We will move on to the addition of vector. Addition of vector. Now if I give you two numbers, 2 and 7, can you add them? Yes, I can easily add them. The answer is 9. Now this addition is called addition. That means you are just adding the numbers. Okay. But if I give you two quantities, say this is A vector, so this is A, and I have another vector, say B vector. Now it may have a magnitude, it also has a direction, isn't it? Now to add two quantities which has got direction, you cannot go for simple ordinary algebra, you have to go for vector addition, and there are certain rules to be followed while you add two vectors together. Okay, so this is how you represent two and add them in the same diagram. I will just write R, where R becomes the resultant vector by adding A and B. Mind you, again we are not simply adding the numbers here, we are following certain rules to get this value of R. That means the value of R will be in magnitude as well as direction. Okay. So analytically speaking, that is mathematically speaking, there are two laws of vector addition, okay, which are commonly used to add two vectors together. The first is called triangle law and the second law is called parallelogram law. Okay. Let's see how we follow triangle law to add two vectors. Now we will begin with triangle law of vector addition. Triangle law. Now this law states that if two vectors are represented in magnitude and direction by the two sides of a triangle in the same order, suppose we have two vectors represented in magnitude and direction by two sides of a triangle. Now this is my A and this is B. These two are the two vectors represented in magnitude. Constitute the two sides of a triangle taken in the same order. If you can see, this arrow is going here, that means the order has not changed. This arrow has not come down. Okay. Now, continuation with the law. The resultant is represented by the third side of a triangle taken in the opposite order. Now, I will complete the triangle, third side. I will just connect this tail of the first vector and the tip of the second vector with a line. Now this triangle, but the resultant also should be having a direction. So where will the direction be? Either it will be directed this side or it will be directed this side. but according to the law it has to be taken in the opposite order. So had I done this and drawn the arrow here, this would be in the same order, but if I draw the arrow, it happens to be the opposite order, and this is my resultant, which is nothing but the addition of A and B. This is how you apply the triangle law of vector addition. And when do you apply this law? When the tip of the first vector coincides with the tail of the vector. This is the tip of the vector and this is the tail of the second vector. They are coinciding. This is when we follow the triangle law of vector addition. Okay. Now we will derive expressions for the magnitude and direction for the resultant vector r. Okay. For that, I will redraw the diagram. Vector number, just come to this side of the board. Vector number 1 is named as A vector. Vector number 2 is B vector. And resultant taken in the opposite order. This is my R denoted by denotation. It is not the exact value. Okay. Now I will, for the derivation, I will need to use the Pythagoras theorem now. So I will just make a small construction. Okay. Points, the vertices of the triangle O, Q, this is P, this is E. Okay, and these two vectors are making an angle equal to theta with each other. Okay. Now we will proceed with the derivation. As I told you, we will be just applying Pythagoras theorem for that. Now, applying Pythagoras theorem, and you should know that to apply Pythagoras theorem, you need a right angle triangle. That is why I constructed this big triangle. Okay, and this happens to be a right angle. Since we are concerned with this one, that is the diagonal, and you know from diagonal the formula using Pythagoras theorem is diagonal square, that is OQ square, is equal to perpendicular square plus base square. Our base is OE square. Okay, OE square plus OQ square, I'll just copy as it is. OQ square is equal to QE, nothing to be done there. QE square plus, now I can just write this OE square in terms of, because it is an addition of two lines together, so OE happens to be OP plus PE square. It just QE, and write it as it is, plus I can apply A plus B whole square formula here. So it is OP square plus PE square plus 2 into OP into PE, applying A square plus B square plus 2AB is equal to, now if you have a look at this PE and QE, these two are the perpendicular and the base of this small triangle which we have here. So perpendicular square plus base square is equal to hypotenuse square. So in place of QE square plus PE square, I can write PQ square, and the rest is as it is, OP square plus 2 OP into PE. Okay, now this OQ square, I have named it as R. We are just finding the magnitude. R square is equal to, what is PQ? PQ is the vector B plus, what is OP? OP is the vector A plus 2, OP is again A into PE. Now we will just do a small calculation for PE. small triangle on QEP, okay, cos theta, you know cos theta is equal to base by hypotenuse. What is the base of this one? PE, and the hypotenuse of which is PQ. Now, since this is something which is not known to us, we are actually trying to deduce a term in known terms. So we are just trying to eliminate PE, okay, and replace PE by some known terms to us. So PE, if you just cross multiply, you will be getting PQ cos theta. Because we already know what is theta, the angle between A and B. PQ, now if you look at the diagram, is what? B. So instead of PE, I can write B cos theta. So PE can be replaced by B cos theta. So we have just deduced an expression for the magnitude of the resultant vector, the square of the magnitude. If you just want the magnitude, just take a root of it, rearrange the terms. I can write it as A plus B square plus 2AB cos theta. Now this is the magnitude of the resultant vector, okay, following triangle law of vector addition. So the magnitude of this R is equal to under root A square, you know the value of A, B square, you know the value of B, and you also know the value of theta, so you can easily find the value for R, okay. Now, finding magnitude is never enough. For a vector quantity, you also need to talk about the direction, isn't it? So, how to find direction? If you notice in the diagram, now this resultant has made a certain angle alpha with respect to the horizontal, that is the first vector A. So if we are able to find out alpha, we will also come to know the orientation of the resultant vector. Let's see how we can find the value of alpha. If you just again look at that triangle, tan alpha, look at this big triangle, tan is equal to perpendicular by base is OE, I will just leave QE as it is, by OE is again OP plus PE, okay. Now we do not know what is QE, so we will take theta of this triangle. Sin theta is equal to perpendicular by hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is PQ. That means we can easily find what is QE in known terms is equal to PQ sin theta. So QE here is PQ sin theta divided by OP is nothing but PE was nothing but B cos theta, which we had reduced earlier, okay. Now PQ happens to be our B, PQ is B sin theta divided by A plus B cos theta, which will give you the direction or orientation of the resulting vector. If you just want to find alpha, you can simply find by taking the inverse of it. Inverse may be found out using a calculator, or there is a method in mathematics. So it is B sin theta divided by A plus B cos theta. This is how you find out the magnitude and direction of the resultant vector following the triangle law of vector addition. I hope it is clear to you all. Now we move to the second law of vector addition. Derivation can be done using following the same process. So I will not be doing a derivation for parallelogram law. I will be just giving you the expression. But you should know what parallelogram law is. It is a law of vector addition. Okay, when do you apply this law? I'll come to that later. Let me state the law first. If two vectors are represented in magnitude and direction by two adjacent sides, okay, in the previous previous theorem, it was the two sides of a triangle. In this theorem, it is the two adjacent sides of a parallelogram, okay, drawn from a point. Now, say we have the vector A drawn from the point O, okay, and another vector, say B, is drawn from the same point. That is the difference. Okay, so these two vectors are represented the two adjacent sides of a parallel, and these two vectors are drawn from a single point O. Then the resultant is represented by, in magnitude and direction, by the diagonal of the parallelogram drawn from the same point. So you need to draw a diagonal from the same point, which will be giving you the resultant. To draw the diagonal, you have to complete this parallelogram. So using broken lines, you may complete the parallelogram. The two sides should be equal and parallel. So this is our complete parallelogram, and the diagonal of which is R. The resultant is represented by A plus B. Okay. So this is what parallelogram law states. If two vectors are represented by two adjacent sides of a parallelogram drawn from a point, then the resultant is represented by the diagonal of the parallelogram drawn from the same point. So this is our resultant. And the value of R is the resultant will be the same as you had deduced in the previous theorem law. It is A square plus B square plus 2AB cos theta. This is the magnitude, and the orientation tan alpha, and here theta is angle between A and B. So this big angle is theta, and alpha is the angle which this resultant makes with the first vector. So this is my alpha. Okay. So tan alpha is given by B sin theta divided by A plus B cos theta, or alpha is equal to tan inverse of the same expression. This is how you find the magnitude and direction of the resultant vector using parallelogram law of vector addition. Okay. Now I will stop the class with a few special cases. The first special case is if two vectors are in the same direction. What will you do? Suppose you have vector A and vector B somewhere here. Okay, vector B. They are in the same direction, or if they start from a single point A and vector B would go a little longer B. Now these are two vectors starting from the same point. Okay, what will be the resultant's magnitude? So if two vectors are in the same direction, just a special case of this parallelogram law. R is under root A square plus B square plus 2AB cos theta. Okay. Now R is equal to, if we just put this theta equal to 0 degree, okay, then this R will A plus B, because it will be A square plus B square plus 2AB cos 0 is 1. So this is A plus B whole square, root of which will be just A plus B. So if you have got two vectors in the same direction, theta will be equal to 0 degree, and the resultant's magnitude will just be equal to A plus B, and alpha will not be equal to 0 degree, because the resultant will also be in the same direction. Okay, there will be no angle between this vector and the resultant vector. Second case, if two vectors are to each other, that means A and B make an angle equal to 90 degree, and here theta will be equal to 90 degree, then your R will be equal to under root A square plus B square plus 2AB cos 90. Cos 90 is equal to 0, so this term will be null and void. So R will just be equal to under root A square plus B square, and alpha will be equal to inverse b by a. You can replace the value of theta in the given expression, then you will get alpha is equal to tan inverse b by a. Okay, and coming to the last case, if two vectors are opposite to each other, opposite means A may be directed here from the same point, B is in the opposite direction. Okay, in this case, R will be equal to, replace the value of theta as 180 degree here, and you should know that cos 180 is equal to minus 1. So R will be equal to simply A minus B or B minus A, whichever is the bigger vector will come first. Okay, and alpha will be equal to 180 degree, or sometimes it may be also equal to 0 degree, meaning the resultant vector may be directed in this way if A is bigger than B. Okay, if A is bigger than A, then the resultant vector will be directed here, making an angle equal to 180 degree with the first vector. So this is how you find the resultant vector using parallelogram law of vector addition, and we have also done some special cases. In the next class, we will be starting with the unit vector and the multiplication of vectors. Thank you for your attention.